Football. We all love it. Kinda. I don't know. I never really saw the appeal in it. I was one of the kids who never really saw the point in physical education or sports. Probably because I had a gamer mentality at a young age and parents who didn't really love me enough to play with me. So it was just an overall weird concept to me. A strange sport that rarely includes the usage of foots. I mean, seriously, why even call it football at that point? And yet, it somehow has multiple video games, different media incarnations, and it somehow managed to become a fan favorite in Vanguard's history, and managed to claw its way back up to standard again. Maybe it was the aesthetics, maybe characters, maybe it was even the gameplay. Maybe some of you were just overall weirdos. I know who you are. Or maybe it was just the jocks who were playing and it became popular. Hello, ladies and gents, dragons and demons, and every other thing on that colorful spectrum we call life. Welcome to another episode of Decipher. On this series, we look at the many different decks and archetypes of Vanguard's game, and I decide if they're cool or mid, while also making cringy jokes, nihilistic comments, and probably trying to ease your boredom for a couple minutes while also feigning intelligence. Seriously, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. On this episode, we have Bruce from the Overdress series. Alright. Before we begin though, important note I want to make. I want to preface that we'll only be looking at sets 1 through 4 Bruce cards, as everything past the original Overdress is Willdress content, which we will look at when we get to Willdress eventually. I know I did a chord for the Bastion video, but Bruce has an entirely different playstyle when he enters Willdress, and has a whole different set of cards, which, in my opinion, warranted a secondary video for him. So we're going to cover him when we get later down the line to that video. So no Peach Mounds or Final Bursting today. And now moving on to the actual video. So for a bit of context, Bruce, the deck, was originally released as a part of the 5 original Overdress start decks, the 5 Greats, alongside Bastion. Bruce was the second deck released and went under the name of Tyrant Tiger, and was the introduction of the second Overdress nation, Dark States. He debuted in the anime and was used by the Chad himself, Danji Momoyama. These two are basically the same person, as they're very aggressive and both have a lot of soul. Get it? Because Dark States soul. Get it? It's a joke. Okay, well, shut up now. Well, with Bruce, he also introduced the Diabolos archetype, which is his football team and the main core of the deck. Although, as we move on, it may seem that the archetype is known as Diabolos, there is another thing connecting them, and that is known as the Final Rush. I will explain what that does as we go along. So, for the main game plan of the deck, it's all about multi attack. The deck is very aggressive and was a significant threat in the early days of D, as he and Bastion were top contenders for their day early on due to their sheer power. This infographic here shows their early day D-Series tops, and shows how far Bruce fared against the early competition in DBT-01. Pretty decent with only supports, but as the years went on, he slowly faded away into obscurity because he became a bit slow. Weird considering he's a football player, might have had too many concussions. On to the cards, starting off with the grade 0 of the deck, Diabolos Innocent Matt. He's innocent because he's the starter of the deck, and doesn't do much outside the typical D-Series starter skill. Went second, draw a card. So, when I was reading the lore for Bruce of this vid, it states that he's the youngest of the original 5 Bruce units, and joined in early on, and only plays because of the sport. Huh. I guess youthful means innocence when you're playing a crazy version of football. Wait, if that's the case, then what happened to this dude? Because this guy got the weirdest glove. Okay, guess we'll answer that when we get to him in Willdress. But, moving onward, we're moving on to the next member of the team, and that's Diabolos Bad Steve. Okay, Steve's aren't that bad. Give yourself more credit, man. You're not... Put yourself down. Auto, when this unit is placed on Vanguard, choose a card from your soul, call it to back row rearguard circle, then soul charge 1. Then continuous rearguard circle, if you're in Final Rush, this unit gets 5,000 power. Ah, so this was the inspiration for Ventesta and Fort. Your fault. Okay, I take it back. You are bad. Well, okay, in Dark States you're actually really good. If you went second, you can call out the Matt from Soul and get some early rush in, and with the Soul Charge effect, it's Dark States. You'll see the payoff later. You know what the nation's all about. As for the rearguard skill, yeah, we're not touching that yet. And through lore, the attack captain of Team Diabolos, Demon, around 18 years of age, in human terms, valued greatly for his ability to break through due to his rowdy nature. Lively but unexpectedly cooperative, he is a precious existence in a team full of selfish members. Wait, attack captain? With those stat lines? I don't think so. Yeah, this guy is either full of crap or he's compensating for something. But I respect the embellishment. Good job. Alright, on to the second card, we have Diabolos Anger Richard, the grade 2 of the ride line. And not gonna lie, this guy looks like the nerd who went to the gym and got jacked because he got bullied so hard. Auto, when this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle, cost, put a rearguard into your soul and draw a card. Continuous rearguard circle, if you are in final rush, this unit gets power plus 5,000. Anger? More like benevolent. The first skill basically eats a rearguard to soul for a free draw. And in Bruce, basically, return the soul the mat you got from Steve's skill through Richard's skill. Huh. You know, it feels kind of weird saying normal, human names for Vanguard cards, especially demons of all things. Like, what? But, never mind, that's neither here nor there. And apparently, in lore, he is also the brains behind the Diabolos team, which, with those spectacles, I can believe. And his card draw skill is kind of acting as it, since it returns Matt back to the soul. Though, if you play him in any other Darkseid's deck without Steve, you're gonna need to have a rearguard before grade 2 so his skill can be activated. I've seen a couple Favrenil decks run this ride line just because it's the most generic ride line of the entire nation. Which says a lot now that I think about it. Seriously, how is this the only generic ride line? Finally, we move on to the final unit of the ride line, the main grade 3 himself, Diabolos Violence Bruce. Look at him in his crimson glory. Auto Vanguard Circle, at the start of your ride phase, you final rush until end of turn. Auto Vanguard Circle, when this unit attacks, if you are in final rush, cost Soul Blast 5 and stand all of your front row rear guards. Now, to explain Final Rush, it's a state in which you achieve through Bruce, as you just saw. In Final Rush, you gain access to various skills that would otherwise have been off limits, like Steve and Richard's power-up skills, and later down the line, the future support cards make proper use of this. Like a second skill, at a steep 5-point Soul Blast, your front row restands, giving you 5 attacks for that turn. All of that from one start deck. This was one of the top contenders of early D-Series for a reason and made everyone weep when you stood back up for 2 more attacks. This Scarlet Armor Demon earned the nickname of Tyrant Tiger as that final effect is absolutely tyrannical. His team definitely embodies the term diabolical for a reason. Now, some of you newer players might be concerned at the 5-point Soul Blast. Well, Bruce is Dark States and always has ways of supplying the soul. And some of you keen-eyed viewers might notice as that, unlike Bastion, Bruce doesn't seem to get big numbers with only smallish multi-attack. Just wait and see, kids. With his first piece of support, Diabolos Boys Eden. Another demon emblazoned with the Diabolos emblem on his chest. Grade 2, Continuous Rearguard Circle. If you are in Final Rush, this unit gets power plus 5,000, and if this unit stood this turn by a card effect, this unit also gets critical plus 1. Auto Rearguard Circle. When this unit's attack hits, cost Counterblast 1, choose one of your opponent's rearguards and retire it. Strong Pressure and Board Control. A triple rare from the Genesis of 5 Greats booster set, and this guy certainly is great. Easy pressure and can be very deadly, forcing your opponent to decide if their rearguards are more important or just take the first hit. This effect is also not Vanguard restrictive, so if you take out their rearguards first, you can kill another one for 1 CB and keep doing that on the restand. And then on the subsequent restand from Bruce's skill, a free critical, forcing yet another tough choice from the opponent. Love this guy. For Violence Bruce, this is a very strong contender. Now, following Eden, we have Upward Acrobat Marjorie. Not a football player nor a cheerleader. Kind of breaks the whole aesthetic of the game, but alright, whatever. Grade 3, Auto Rearguard Circle once per turn. When this unit attacks, if you are in Final Rush, cost, put one of your other rearguards into your soul, draw a card, and then soul charge one, and this unit gets 10,000 power until the end of turn. Alright, this is your soul fixer, and your draw power. On top of it all, a free 10k. One of the best cards from early D, and able to recycle and cheapen the Bruce Soul Blast, because if you use her after the restand and after your other units attack, put that unit that already attacked or boosted into soul and draw it and soul charge. That's pretty good. And she was also released in the same set as Eden, and she and him complement each other very well as it gives Bruce much needed pressure. In Violence, this is still ran and it still has insane value by being able to be tricky with your soul. And by tricky with your soul, we also have Proto Bulb Dragon. Well, I guess a Gear Dragon can also play football now. Grade 1 with Auto Rearguard Circle. When this unit attacks or boosts, if you're in Final Rush, cost Counterblast 1 and put another rearguard into your soul, choose a card from your soul and put it into your hand. Okay, now this is how you be tricky with Marjorie. If you have any valuable cards that were sent to soul, you can easily return them back to your hand, meaning pieces, triggers, and even perfect guards. Some Violence decks don't run him anymore due to the space, but he's still a very good card. And being on attack on a Persona Ride turn makes him an 18k attacker, and his skill isn't even once per turn. So it's a lot of CB, but you're going to get a lot of resources back into hand. And I'll say this right now, early support and later, Violence Bruce doesn't use too much CB. Next card is Diabolos Jetbacker Leonard. Jetbacker? What? You mean linebacker? Pretty sure a jetbacker isn't a thing. Or, I don't know, until Elon Musk buys the NFL and rewrites everything like he did on Twitter. Oh, I'm sorry, X. Grade 2, with Continuous Rearguard Circle. If you are in Final Rush, this unit gets power plus 5,000, and when this unit would attack, it bows all of your opponent's units in the column. And then Auto Rearguard Circle, when this unit attacks, hits, Soul Charge 1, and if your Vanguard is Diabolos Violence Bruce, choose up to one card from your soul and call it to an open Rearguard Circle. Okay, he's not a linebacker at all. This guy is literally always on the offensive. Released in DBT-02, Brush with the Legends, a lackluster set, he was one of the shining diamonds among it. Massive column wives and multi-attack. Now you can see the Spike Brothers / Dark States playstyle come into play. Soul manipulation and getting more rears on the board for basically free. Combine this effect with Protobulb and Marjorie and you have a decent value engine. Attack with Marjorie, put a rear into soul, then attack with Leonard, call out another rear to an open rearguard circle, probably back row. Attack with Bruce, boosted by Protobulb, move Marjorie into soul, grab something out, Bruce restands front row, then attack with Leonard, kill a column again, or attack Van, call Marjorie again to refresh her skill, get more value. Was that convoluted? Probably. Is there a better combo than the one I mentioned? Probably. Most likely. And I'm not a Bruce player. So everything I just said was just the one combo I know. So yeah, that means it's a good card. Next card we have is Diabolos Madonna Mabel. Oh, hello, pretty lady. How are you? Diabolos Madonna Mabel. Grade 1. Auto Rearguard Circle. When this unit boosts the Vanguard, if you are in Final Rush, cost Counterblast 1. Choose one of your Vanguards and it gets triple drive until the end of the turn. Drive check 3 times. So yeah, triple drive. Card was used pretty often before a certain card was released, but then another card was released which made her useful again. This card is kind of a maybe in the original Bruce deck due to her costing CB, but the extra drive is always nice and I always like extra pressure. Released in the same set as Leonard, she was also one of the diamonds in the rough. Quickly moving away from her for obvious reasons, we have Modern Gear Dober, a gear dog. I guess Demon Football players also like mechanical dogs. I respect that. Grade 1, Auto Rearguard Circle. At the end of the battle, this unit boosted. If you are in Final Rush, cost, put this unit into your soul, choose one of your units, and it gets 10,000 power until the end of turn. Although a grade 1 common from Mabel and Leonard's set, Dober is one of the few commons to be really decent, as it fuels the Bruce soul and can always recycle itself with Leonard. And the extra 10k is always nice, as it eats a card out of the opponent's hand as well. This is one of the better gear breeds, and it's a dog too, which is always great, and we always like dogs. Finally, to wrap up DBT02, we have Hellblast Full Dive, a grade 3 normal order with play this card with cost Counterblast 1. Draw a card, choose a card from your hand, and call it to rearguard circle. Then, if you're in Final Rush, all of your front row units get 10,000 power until the end of turn. Decent, simple, easy. On a Persona Ride turn, 20k to the front row. And yeah, a free draw is always appreciated. Though the mandatory calling is a bit annoying, it's not the worst. Although, sounding like an impact card from Buddy Fight, I was hoping for something a bit more explosive. But hey, it's still good. By the way, if you don't yell, "Final Phase!" and shout, "Hisatsuwa! Hellblast to Full Dive!" in a tournament, you will be kicked out for not being cool. Warning, this is a joke, please don't do this in an official tournament, you will be kicked out. Next, we move on to Advance of Intertwined Stars, a set that was released on the second half of Overdress. We start off with Diabolos returner Derek. Looks like someone was very eager for the ball. A grade 2 with continuous rearguard circle. If you are in Final Rush, this unit gets power plus 5,000. And then act rearguard circle once per turn, cost Counterblast 1, and put a rearguard into your soul. Choose one of your opponent's rearguards, and for every 4 cards in your soul, retire it. Then, if you're in Final Rush, look at the same number of cards from the top of your deck as the number of your opponent's open rearguard circles, choose any number of units from among them, call them to rearguard, and put the rest into soul. This is Kagero mixed with Royals, and it's in dark states. Mass retire, board building, and soul stacking. This is interesting to say the least, as his call skill is locked behind your opponent's rearguards and your own soul count. Having a soul count of over 8 is doable, but the skill to shove whatever you don't call into soul can make you lose out on some important cards, like triggers and orders. His board build skill isn't bad, but it's not the greatest either. On a casual level, he's fun and can be interesting, but most of the time, Derek is ran in mostly gimmick builds. I wouldn't recommend running him outside of casual builds. On to the next intertwined cards, we have Diabolos Madonna Regina. This artwork is targeting me as a person and is activating way too many neurons. Grade 1, act rearguard circle once per turn. If you are in Final Rush, cost Counterblast 1 and put 2 other rearguards into your soul. Choose a card from your soul, call it your rearguard circle, and that unit and this unit gets power plus 10,000 until the end of turn. This is actually a pretty decent tech card, able to get out a useful attacker out, and the extra 10k is always really decent and able to rise to magic numbers. And it also gets rid of cards you don't really want on board. Though the CB pricing is getting kinda ridiculous, but I'm sure it's fine. Next card is Diabolos Striker Brian, a grade 3 with act rearguard circle once per turn, cost Soul Blast 2. Until the end of the turn, all of your front row units get power plus 5,000, and if you're in Final Rush, choose one of your Vanguards and it gets critical plus 1. Well, now we're using soul as a resource, which is always nice, though the soul cost is a rather tad bit pricey, and we rather want to keep our soul relatively untouched. This is a pretty decent support. Half Persona Ride and a crit to Van without any other stipulations other than being once per turn is pretty good. I might be biased as I really like crit stacking cards, but this card is decent in my opinion. And if you can maintain the soul count and have 2 copies of Brian on board, they can stack as they're restricted to once per copy. 3 crit Persona Ride before attack phase. That is hilarious. Next card is Pandemonium Tactics, another grade 3 normal order card with play this card with cost Counterblast 1. Soul charge 4, then if you are in Final Rush, perform all the following according to the number of cards in your soul. 6 or more, draw a card. 8 or more, all of your front row units get 10,000 power until the end of turn. 12 or more, choose one of your Vanguards and it gets critical plus 1 until the end of turn. Okay, that is a lot and this is good. Soul charge 4 is already pretty good, and the beneficial effects make it even better. I'd say it's worth it. Plus, this basically supplements your soul for Bruce and allows for more pressure, and it rewards for having a massive soul count, since occasionally Bruce would have an abundance of soul. In fact, some Dark States decks like Barra Magnus and maybe even Greedon used to run Pandemonium just for the 4-card soul charge, as they wanted to get up to a max number of soul. Locked behind a CB is a bit rough for the Bruce deck, but if timed correctly, it can be pretty deadly. If it's timed with Brian and Mabel on top of a Persona ride, that's going to be a very deadly turn. Great card, and crit sacking is always nice. Now we move on to the final set of Overdress before Will Dress, Awakening of Chakra Barthi, the climax booster of Overdress, and introduced a couple of game-breaking garbage. Now, while being released at the end of the Overdress Chakra Barthi Divine era, we're gonna have to take things slow and steady and save the good stuff for last. Starting off with a rare Helheim Full Dive. Sound familiar, yeah? A grade 3 normal order, another Bruce order that sounds like an impact card. Play this card with cost, discard a card from your hand. Countercharge 1, if you're in Final Rush, draw 2 cards, choose up to 2 cards from your hand and call them to Rearguard Circle, and they get 5,000 power until the end of turn. Well, there's your archetypal countercharger, Bruce players, locked behind a discard. This card is basically a slightly better Hellblast since you're drawing 2 and don't have to call anything and get a countercharge, whereas Hellblast forces you to draw 1 and call 1. Though you do lose out on the power if you don't call anything, so you have to decide what's more important. Power or card... Sorry, I couldn't say that with a straight face. Nah, card draw always wins. Freaking card draw. Decent card, don't max out on all the orders though, since they're kind of bricky, and you can only activate 1 a turn. So be careful when considering him, and make sure you don't overstack your deck with orders. Alright, we're almost done here, kids. Next card is Diabolos Striker Lyle, a grade 2. And, this is a weird card for me. Auto, when this unit is placed on Rearguard Circle, cost Counterblast 1, and this unit gets power plus 5,000 until the end of turn. Then, if you're in Final Rush, Soul Charge 2, choose a card from your soul and call it to an open Rearguard Circle. Huh. This card is okay. It's fine, but I don't know if this was worth the double rare slot. It's good, but the CB cost is already kinda steep, and I feel like Leonard and Marjorie and every other support card we've seen already do this guy's skill, but better. So, yeah, I don't really know how to feel about this guy. Soul Charging 2 is fine. You get some cards in your soul and get kinda multi-attack off, but it's kinda meh. I personally don't see the value of this guy. Maybe some Bruce players in the comment section can give me their opinions on Lyle, like how many you run in and how you guys think of him. So make what you want of that, and yeah, he's relatively cheap, so if you want to consider him for a budget Bruce deck, then go ahead, or Will Dress cards, I don't know. Finally, at the end of the Chakra Barthi Divine era, the era of the 5 greats, we end off on one of them, and they have received a powerful upgrade. Diabolos Unrivaled Bruce, a grade 4 with triple drive. Yep, like Bastion, Bruce also got a grade 4 upgrade. And Unrivaled is definitely the word to use. His skills are Auto Vanguard Circle at the beginning of ride phase. Until the end of turn, you Final Rush, like OG Bruce. And then Auto Vanguard Circle once per turn. At the end of the battle this unit attacked, if you are in Final Rush, cost Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 5. Stand all of your front row units, and this unit gets Drive -2 until the end of turn. So, full front row restand, 6 attack turn, maybe even more if you have combo shenanigans. And at that stage of the game, you're definitely killing on that turn. This card was insanely powerful, able to keep the front row attacking and able to draw 3 cards with the van was great. This guy was the main game plan of Bruce after DBT-04. Nowadays though, Unrivaled has become severely power crept since turn 3 usually results in explosive attacks from the opponent, which could outright kill you. And he is somewhat of a non-combo with the Will Dress cards, since Bruce adopted a new form and playstyle which doesn't really work with Unrivaled. Unrivaled, unlike Bastion Prime, doesn't have much synergy with the main deck since he does not have much support to work with. Prime still had use in the Accord build as a finisher, and most of the Bastion support cards just cared about a Bastion in the name. Unrivaled didn't really have that much and didn't really work with much since it was locked to turn 4 and didn't have much until then, so you couldn't do much on your first grade 3 turn, and he only gains Final Rush at the beginning of your ride phase. So it was just a matter of survival until then. Unfortunately, the years have been unkind to Violent/Unrivaled as he falls to power creep and results in not doing anything on the first grade 3 turn. If you want some support for a modern Violent/Unrivaled Bruce deck, here are some options. Eidos Varo or the Dark States OT. Eidos Varo to recycle pieces from drop, and OT for the constant pressure. Energy Cyclers are okay, although if you're running on the grade 4 deck, you kinda can't Persona Ride, so it's kinda useless. Soul Cyclers are iffy, but also relatively fine. Brainwash Swirler, it's a Dark States deck, come on, it's a staple, you always have to run Swirler. Servant Falcratia to gain soul from drop and extra power, but also on a grade 4 turn, card draw, since the deck also suffers from a lack of card advantage. Steam Scara Zaragon to make your drop zone useful and to make your opponent make hard decisions during early game. The Dark States Cat Purple Jewel Beast Almathes for easy shield value with a free countercharge, since your ride line most of the time will be delegated to the drop zone on your first final rush. Forbidal Surrogate if you're playing grade 4 Bruce and to get any grade 3 rearguards. Evil Eye of Prohibition Quenlu to make your unit's attacks actually hit, and make sure if you're playing crit stacking variant of Bruce, make him even scarier. Then we also have 2 cards that I wanted to talk about. Diabolos Diver Julian, a card that was released in Wildress, who is basically a better Derek and is able to get big and works well with Surrogate. Then Diabolos Madonna Megan, who is also released in Wildress. She can get stupidly big, also she's hot, so yeah, you can run her. I've taken the time to mention these cards as, although they are Wildress support cards, they've become a staple in every Bruce deck, as they are very good fixers. So moving on, Avarice Rester if you're playing an order heavy Bruce deck with Pandemonium. Time Turner Dragon clockwise to mitigate discards as you want to keep as many cards in your hand as possible. Also, you're not really going to be using energy all that much, so best way to make use of it. Soaring Sun Presence forward and Revertus to try and make a board from Soul, and Dark Bond Abyss, Surrogate, and Dark Egg to get cards from your Soul back to hand. 2 Dual Nation Dark States cards that are really helpful in situations. And finally, Impediment Slicer, who is the Bruce grade 4 Jump Rider, which, if you're playing grade 4 Rush, you always want to max out on this one. Final thoughts. Bruce was once a fan favorite deck as its aggro playstyle and unique technical interactions led to it being one of the most memorable decks of Overdress. Later on, during the latter half of Wildress, he saw some play, however it fell off due to the increased speed of the game. Decks during early Wildress like Youthberg, Leonorn, and Drajewel led Bruce to his downfall. The support he received throughout Wildress never really synergized well to make the deck really return to its former glory. Bruce slowly became a roguish casual deck, only gaining a few supports every once in a while also trying to scrape by with generic supports. Overall, Bruce is still a really fun deck, and fighting against them always puts you on your toes. Me personally speaking, every time I fight Bruce, I always get nervous whenever they reach grade 4, as it can outright kill you very quickly. And with DZ being officially present, we received 2 new Bruce support cards. Unfortunately, both of which don't really fix the flaws, but definitely make the deck even scarier. Although I hope later down the road, Bruce gets some support that fixes him and makes him a threat again. And I really want to see what Bruce does later down the line. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and like, comment, and all that jazz, and make sure to feed the algorithm for me. Or not, your call, I don't dictate how you live. I don't really like doing end sequences, but I thought I'd try doing this type of thing, so yeah, here we are. See ya, enjoy the music, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Scarlet Emperor, out. You're still here?!